right, so today we're diving deep into the world of crypto, specifically the rise of Coinbase.
Yeah.
And our guide for this journey is Jeff John Roberts and his book, Kings of Crypto.
Oh, a fantastic read, by the way.
Yeah, it really pulls back the curtain on how Coinbase went from this scrappy startup to, a major player in finance.
It really does.
We'll be tracing their journey, exploring the challenges they faced, the decisions they made.
Yeah, the people they met.
The people, the personalities, the rivalries.
The whole thing.
So get ready for a wild ride, because this is crypto.
Buckle up.
Now, at the center of this story is Brian Armstrong, the founder of Coinbase.
Right.
And, back in 2012, when Bitcoin was still this kind of mysterious niche thing.
Oh, yeah, it was like the Wild West.
Armstrong had this vision to make it accessible to everyone, not just the tech wizards.
An open secret, Roberts calls it in the book.
I love that phrase, an open secret.
Yeah.
So Armstrong, this quiet, unassuming engineer, really contrasted with some of the more, let's say, colorful characters in the crypto world.
Yeah, you had the cypherpunks, the libertarians, the early adopters who were very much anti-establishment.
Yeah.
And then you have Armstrong, who believed in Bitcoin's potential,
Yeah.
but also wanted to build a bridge to the mainstream.
Right.
Make it user-friendly, make it safe.
So did his personality, his kind of low-key approach, help or hinder Coinbase in those early days?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the early adopters were drawn to that cypherpunk ethos, right?
Yeah.
This idea of challenging the system, being decentralized.
Right.
But Armstrong saw the need for something more approachable, something that could bring Bitcoin to the masses.
Yeah.
And I think that focus on usability was key to their early success.
Right.
They made it easy for people to buy, sell, and store Bitcoin.
So like a gateway drug into the crypto world.
Exactly, a gateway drug.
I like that.
Yeah.
So speaking of gateways, that's where Y Combinator comes in, this prestigious Silicon Valley startup accelerator.
Right.
Known for backing companies like Dropbox and Airbnb.
Yeah, the big ones.
And they saw something special in Coinbase.
They did.
But there's a bit of irony here.
Oh, tell me.
Because Y Combinator usually preferred companies with co-founders. They believed that having a partner was crucial for success.
Right, to share the burden, bounce ideas off each other.
Exactly.
And to weather the storms.
But Armstrong, he actually started solo.
Really?
Yeah, right before the program began, there was a clash of visions with his would-be co-founder, Ben Reeves.
I see.
They just couldn't agree on a fundamental aspect of the business.
Oh, wow. A make-it-or-break-it moment right there.
It was.
So Armstrong convinced Y Combinator to take a chance on him, even though he was flying solo.
He did.
And, they're known for being pretty discerning.
Very much so.
So there must have been something truly compelling about his vision.
There was. And it all boiled down to solving this major pain point for everyday people.
Okay.
How to get into Bitcoin without needing a computer science degree.
Right.
What was the big hurdle back then for most people?
Well, to hold Bitcoin, you had to manage your own private key. It was this long, complex code that acted like your password to your Bitcoin wallet.
Okay.
And if you lost it, your Bitcoin was gone, poof, into the ether, forever.
No reset button.
No customer support line to call.
Oof, intimidating.
Very much so.
So Armstrong's solution with Coinbase was brilliant in its simplicity.
What was it?
They would hold the keys for you.
Oh, I see.
It's like your bank safeguarding your money, but for this new digital world.
Smart.
Revolutionary.
Yeah.
But remember the cypherpunk ethos we talked about?
Yeah.
This push for decentralization, cutting out the middleman.
Right.
How did those die-hard Bitcoin enthusiasts react to Coinbase holding those keys?
Well, let's just say they weren't thrilled.
Oh.
They saw it as centralization. Almost a cardinal sin in their eyes.
I see.
Going against the very spirit of Bitcoin.
Right.
So Coinbase was walking this tightrope, trying to make Bitcoin accessible while also navigating these concerns from the early adopters.
Caught between two worlds.
Exactly.
So on top of all this, they're battling technical glitches, security breaches.
Oh, yeah, the early days of any new technology.
And let's not forget the scammers.
Always lurking.
Figuring out ways to exploit their system.
Trying to game the system.
It was a trial by fire for a young company.
It was, but it was also a proving ground.
It was.
It forced them to adapt, to innovate, to become more resilient.
Right, to really earn their place in this new world.
Yeah.
And through it all, there was Olaf Carlson Wee.
Ah, Olaf, what a character.
Coinbase's first employee.
Customer number 30 and employee number 1.
Talk about an early adopter.
He truly embodied that early Bitcoin spirit, almost like a missionary zeal. It wasn't about getting rich for him, at least not at first.
Right.
This guy was living off Bitcoin for 3 years.
Wow, really?
Yeah, eating Bitcoin, breathing Bitcoin, sleeping Bitcoin.
Living his truth. Exactly.
So why did he join Coinbase?
Well, he saw them as trying to build trust in this system that frankly had a lot of shady characters. He wanted to be part of something legitimate.
I see.
Something that could bring Bitcoin into the light.
Right.
Out of the shadow.
Building a legitimate business in this Wild West atmosphere?
Yeah, talk about a challenge.
It's been quite the adventure.
It was, and just as things were starting to gain momentum, the crypto world was rocked by the Mt. Gox meltdown.
Mt. Gox, wasn't that the world's first major Bitcoin exchange?
Yeah, it was.
What happened?
It imploded.
Wow.
Due to hacking and mismanagement.
Oh, no.
Millions of dollars just vanished.
A seismic event for the entire crypto community.
It was. People lost fortunes. Trust was shattered.
That must have been terrifying for everyone involved, especially a young company like Coinbase.
It was a close call for them, too.
Really?
They were actually quite intertwined with Mt. Gox. They relied on them for liquidity.
You know, they needed access to a large pool of Bitcoin to meet their customers' demands.
I see.
But luckily, they sensed something was amiss.
Okay.
And they started pulling back their funds just before the whole thing went down.
Wow. A bullet dodged.
It was a close call, and it highlighted just how fragile this new ecosystem really was.
So Coinbase is navigating this volatile landscape, trying to build trust, facing skepticism from both the crypto purists and the traditional financial world.
Yeah, it was a tough balancing act.
And then you introduce Katie Haun into the mix.
Oh, Katie Haun, what a fascinating figure.
Now, she was a federal prosecutor.
Right.
Initially tasked with investigating Bitcoin as a criminal enterprise.
Can you imagine that?
I know. Going from trying to shut it down to becoming one of the leading experts in crypto.
It's quite a journey.
So she must have realized that Bitcoin itself wasn't the problem.
Exactly.
It was the criminals exploiting this new technology.
Right. It's like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
And a prime example of this is the Silk Road saga.
Ah, the Silk Road, an online black market fueled by Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You could buy anything there.
Anything.
Well, let's just say it was a haven for illicit goods and services.
Wow.
The FBI eventually took it down.
Okay.
But it uncovered a web of corruption even within their own ranks.
What do you mean?
Some of the agents involved in the investigation were actually stealing Bitcoin for themselves.
Wow. Talk about adding fuel to the fire.
It was a PR nightmare.
So Coinbase is trying to create this safe, regulated platform for Bitcoin while also dealing with this public perception of it being used for illicit activities.
Yeah, it was a constant battle.
And then, as if things couldn't get any more complicated, Wall Street starts to take notice.
Oh, yeah.
Traditional finance, initially dismissive of Bitcoin, now saw its potential.
But their vision was quite different from the cypherpunks.
Right, this is where the whole blockchain not Bitcoin concept comes into play.
Oh, yes.
Wall Street wanted the revolutionary technology behind Bitcoin.
The distributed ledger, the tamper-proof record-keeping.
But without the decentralized philosophy that came with it.
They wanted the benefits without the ideology.
Exactly, trying to separate the technology from its roots.
It was a classic attempt to co-opt a disruptive force.
Right, to mold it into something that fit their existing power structures.
But ultimately it failed.
It did.
But it did open the door for Wall Street to start dipping their toes into the crypto waters.
And as you can imagine, Coinbase found themselves right at the center of this new wave of interest.
They were the bridge between Silicon Valley and Wall Street.
Trying to balance their origins with this sudden influx of attention.
Talk about a culture crash.
That crash was perfectly embodied in a tense meeting between Coinbase and Cantor Fitzgerald.
Oh, Cantor Fitzgerald, this old-school Wall Street powerhouse.
Yeah.
What happened?
It's like watching two completely different worlds collide.
The tech disruptors versus the financial establishment?
Suits versus hoodies.
Yeah, it must have been quite a scene.
Almost poetic.
And to add even more intrigue to the mix, all of this is happening as Ethereum, a new blockchain platform, is capturing everyone's imagination.
Ethereum, the brainchild of Vitalik Buterin.
This young, visionary programmer.
What was so special about Ethereum?
Well, it introduced this idea of smart contracts, programmable money that could revolutionize how we interact and transact online.
Really?
It was a much broader vision than just a digital currency.
So a game changer.
Absolutely. And it would eventually force Coinbase to make some tough decisions about their future.
So we have internal conflicts brewing, Wall Street eyeing crypto with this mix of curiosity and skepticism, a new rival in the form of Ethereum emerging.
Yeah, it was a pivotal moment for Coinbase and the entire crypto industry.
And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. So you have this incredible period of growth and change happening all at once.
It sounds like a recipe for chaos.
It was, and right in the midst of it all, Brian Armstrong, the ever-so-quiet CEO, he's got this, what Roberts calls a secret master plan to guide Coinbase through it all.
A secret master plan? Was he plotting to take over the world with Bitcoin or something?
Not quite.
Okay, so what was it all about?
Well, Armstrong actually had this pretty idealistic vision, you know? He believed that crypto, just like the internet before it, would go through these distinct phases of adoption.
Okay.
First, you have the creation of the technology itself. Then you have the emergence of platforms like Coinbase to make it accessible. And then finally, you have the development of user-friendly applications that would bring crypto to the masses.
So he saw Coinbase not just as an exchange, but as this gateway to a whole new world.
Exactly, a gateway to decentralized finance.
And this vision, was it in line with the whole Silicon Valley ethos of disruption?
Absolutely it was. But here's the thing. Armstrong himself wasn't this charismatic Steve Jobs-esque figure, you know?
Right.
He was actually quite introverted, almost awkward at times.
So not exactly the stereotypical picture of a tech revolutionary.
Not at all, but what he lacked in outward charisma,
Uh-huh.
he made up for in focus and determination.
How so?
He was constantly trying to learn and grow, seeking out mentors, actively asking for feedback, even hiring leadership coaches to help him navigate the complexities of running this rapidly growing company.
It seems like he recognized his own limitations.
He did, and that commitment to self-improvement, it was crucial because Coinbase was about to face a whole new set of challenges.
Like what?
Well, the company was experiencing this exponential growth,
Yeah.
but their infrastructure was struggling to keep pace.
Right, they were dealing with all those technical glitches and customer service issues.
Exactly, and then there was the emergence of new competitors, including a particularly formidable rival, Gemini, the exchange founded by the Winklevoss twins.
Oh, the Winklevoss twins, those guys always seem to be at the forefront of these technological shifts.
They do have a knack for recognizing disruptive technologies, even if their journey isn't always smooth sailing.
Right, like their whole Facebook saga.
But with Gemini, they were directly challenging Coinbase's dominance in the U.S. market.
Battle of the Titans.
It was, each vying for the trust and dollars of mainstream investors.
And all of this is playing out against the backdrop of increased scrutiny from the U.S. government, right?
Absolutely. The SEC, the main regulatory body for financial markets, they were becoming increasingly concerned about the Wild West atmosphere of initial coin offerings, or ICOs as they were called.
ICOs, for our listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain what those were and why the SEC was interested?
So ICOs were essentially a way for crypto projects to raise money by selling tokens to the public.
Okay.
Think of it like crowdfunding, but for crypto.
I see.
Now, while some ICOs were legitimate, many turned out to be scams.
Ah, so that's what caught the SEC's attention.
Right, they started cracking down, issuing warnings, and even launching investigations.
And Coinbase, being the most prominent and compliant crypto company in the U.S.,
Yeah.
they found themselves right in the crosshairs.
It was a delicate balancing act.
So they're trying to navigate this regulatory minefield, fight off competitors like the Winklevoss twins,
Right.
all while managing their own explosive growth.
It was a pressure cooker environment.
And to make matters worse, the crypto market was entering a period of unprecedented volatility.
It was. The price of Bitcoin was soaring, then crashing, then soaring again.
The classic boom and bust cycle, but amplified.
Exactly. And Coinbase was right at the center of this frenzy.
How did they handle it?
Well, their platform was flooded with new users, their customer service was overwhelmed, and they were struggling to keep up with the demand.
So their own success was almost becoming a liability.
In a way it was, and it all came to a head in June 2017 with the infamous Ethereum flash crash on Coinbase's GDAX exchange.
I remember reading about that. Wasn't it like a mini financial crisis that unfolded in minutes?
It was. A massive sell order triggered this cascade of automated trades, and the price of Ethereum just plummeted.
How far did it fall?
It went from over $300 to just 10 cents in a matter of seconds.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy. Coinbase was left scrambling to figure out what happened and how to respond.
Must have felt like the floor was falling out from under them.
It did, and it exposed just how fragile the crypto market was.
Right, especially the lack of safeguards against that kind of extreme volatility.
But to Coinbase's credit,
Yeah.
they decided to honor all the trades that happened during the crash, even though it cost them millions of dollars.
Wow, so they took a big financial hit, but they maintained their reputation.
They did. That commitment to doing right by their customers, it was really important, especially as cryptomania reached its peak in late 2017.
So the price of Bitcoin was skyrocketing.
It was. Media coverage was at a fever pitch, and it felt like everyone was trying to get a piece of the action.
It sounds like a real-life gold rush.
It was, and just like the gold rush, it couldn't last forever.
Right.
But in the meantime, Coinbase was riding the wave, adding new cryptocurrencies, expanding their team, and trying to manage this tsunami of new users.
Sounds like they were building the plane while they were flying it.
They were, and the pressure was intense.
Oh, I bet.
They were dealing with bomb threats, online harassment, and constant criticism.
From both sides?
From both sides, the crypto purists who saw them as sellouts, and the Wall Street skeptics who dismissed them as a fad.
So caught between a rock and a hard place.
They were, and through all of this, Brian Armstrong is still trying to stick to his secret master plan, this idea of building a bridge to a decentralized future.
Yeah, was that even possible at this point?
Well, it was becoming increasingly clear that the plan needed to adapt
to
the rapidly changing realities of the crypto world.
Right, the boom was creating new opportunities, but also new challenges, new rivals, and new threats.
Exactly.
So Coinbase was going to have to make some tough choices to survive the coming crypto winter.
That's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. The party's over, the music stopped, and it's officially crypto winter.
Well, that sounds chilly.
It was the speculative frenzy of 2017 evaporated, and a wave of disillusionment kind of swept over the industry.
Coinbase, they tried to stay above the fray, but were they immune?
Not entirely. No one really was.
Right. They were still the top dog in the U.S. market, but the landscape was shifting.
Rapidly, while Coinbase was focused on, making their operations more efficient, consolidating their gains, navigating regulations, a new breed of crypto exchange was emerging.
Oh.
These new players, they weren't so concerned with rules and regulations. They were all about rapid growth.
That's where Binance comes in, right? Seemingly out of nowhere, they became the biggest global crypto exchange.
They did. Binance, they were the embodiment of move fast and break things.
So how did they operate so differently from Coinbase?
Well, they listed tons of cryptocurrencies, many of them super speculative.
Okay.
And their whole approach was much more decentralized, much less regulated.
So basically the Wild West.
Basically.
Did that resonate with users?
It did, especially those who were frustrated with Coinbase's, slower pace of innovation and their strict adherence to U.S. regulations.
Right, seemed too conservative maybe.
Yeah, too by the book for some.
And Binance offered that excitement, more options, fewer restrictions.
Exactly.
So Coinbase, they're facing this threat from Binance, dealing with internal conflicts and cultural clashes.
Right, it was a real test for them.
Did they rise to the challenge?
They recognized the need to change things up, and they brought in a familiar face to do it.
Who was that?
Balaji Srinivasan, their former CTO.
Balaji, the guy who showed up to his job interview looking like he'd just hitchhiked across the Himalaya?
The one and only, and let me tell you, his return to Coinbase marked a period of intense change and conflict.
Not exactly the steady hand on the wheel type thing.
No, Balaji was a force of nature. He clashed with Asif Herji, the COO, who represented a more traditional approach.
So you had this clash of cultures within Coinbase itself.
Yeah, and it wasn't always pretty. There were some big personalities involved.
I can imagine.
And Balaji, he alienated some longtime employees with his win-at-all-costs mentality.
Sounds intense.
It was, and ultimately a number of key executives, including Herji himself, ended up leaving.
Wow, a real shakeup.
It was, but Balaji, he did push Coinbase to become much more aggressive.
In what way?
Well, they started listing way more cryptocurrencies, finally catching up with Binance on that front.
Adapt to die, right?
Pretty much.
So while this is all happening, a new trend starts to emerge that would reshape the industry. Stablecoins.
Yeah, stablecoins were a game changer.
I'm still wrapping my head around those. What made them so different?
Well, one of the biggest criticisms of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies was their volatility.
Right, up one day, down the next.
Exactly. It made them risky for everyday transactions.
Hmm.
Stablecoins were designed to address that problem
By
pegging their value to something more stable, like the US dollar.
Ah, so you get the benefits of crypto without the roller coaster ride.
Exactly. Fast and cheap transactions, but without the constant fear of your money evaporating overnight.
Makes sense. So how did Coinbase respond to this stablecoin thing?
They saw the potential right away and partnered with Circle to launch USD Coin, or USDC.
The SEC, yeah, I've heard of that.
It was one of the first major stablecoins backed by actual US dollar reserves.
Okay.
And they were very transparent about the whole process. Regular audits, building that trust.
So they're moving into this stablecoin space, battling Binance, dealing with the aftermath of Balaji's return.
Yeah, they had a lot on their plate.
And then Facebook drops another bombshell, Libra.
Right, out of the blue.
Libra, it was supposed to revolutionize finance.
It was a bold idea.
But then it just kind of fizzled out. What happened?
Well, Facebook underestimated the global backlash.
Governments weren't too happy.
Not at all. There were concerns about disrupting the financial system, worries about privacy, money laundering, how it would all be regulated.
A political nightmare?
It was. Libra became this symbol of big tech overreach.
And for Coinbase, was this a good thing or a bad thing?
Bit of both. On one hand, Libra legitimized crypto in the eyes of the mainstream.
which could have been good for business.
Exactly. But on the other hand, it could have led to stricter
A
regulation.
double-edged sword.
It was, and while all this debate was raging, Bitcoin, the OG cryptocurrency, was making a comeback.
Really?
Yeah, its price started climbing again, and part of it was this realization that despite all the hype around these newer cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin was still the most secure, the most decentralized.
Back to basics.
In a way, yes.
So where did this leave Coinbase?
They weathered the storms, they've adapted, and they're positioning themselves for the future of finance.
So no longer just an exchange.
No, they're evolving into this full-fledged financial services company.
Wow, what a journey.
It's been a wild ride full of twists and turns.
And it's not over yet.
Not even close. The crypto world is constantly evolving, and Coinbase is right there on the front lines.
It's been fascinating exploring their story and seeing how they've navigated this incredible period of growth and disruption.
Coinbase's story is really a microcosm of the crypto industry itself.
Yeah, all the innovation, the volatility, the drama, and that unwavering belief in the power of blockchain technology.
Exactly.
Well, for our listeners who want to delve even deeper into Coinbase's wild ride, I highly recommend checking out Jeff John Roberts' book, Kings of Crypto.
It's a great read.
It really is. It offers incredible insights into not just Coinbase, but the whole crypto landscape.
A must-read for anyone interested in this space.
And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Coinbase.
Thanks for listening.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.